You are listening to Shameless Stories, and I'm Nicola Humber, founder of the Unbound Press, soul-led publishing company for magical women writing world-changing books. And we are delighted to be the sponsor of this podcast. So enjoy, magical one.
I've actually started recording Shameless Stories on a different platform, and this is very exciting. It's all working today, even though there's like a new moon thing going on and planets and all the stuff. Anyway, so I'm really excited to introduce to you my next guest, who has been a client and a friend. The wonderful Ebonie Allard is joining me today. She is a fulfillment facilitator. So basically she helps you figure out what you want to do with your life and how to show up in the world. I also know that you study and teach human design, which I'm fascinated by, and my Virgo brain just needs to know about all the things. And you're also the developer and the publisher of the Kismet codes, which are absolutely beautiful oracle cards, which you must get your hands on, and there'll be links in the bio. So I'm going to stop waffling and let Ebonie talk, but I'm just so happy to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I love coming and talking about all of these things.
So we were just kind of riffing before we joined, and what were the kinds of topics that we wanted to speak into. Let's start with kind of how you got here, how you found yourself in this job that you do, the facilitator job, the coaching. How did we get there? How did it all happen?
You know what? I was sharing a post on LinkedIn the other day that I have now been self-employed for 29 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And how did we get here? Well, at school, in those kind of years 9 and 10, when they're starting to help you figure out what your career might be, they did not know what to do with me. And, I often say jokingly now that I got kicked out of class for the things I get paid for now. So I would chat and doodle in the back row. And there was a belief that I was difficult and disruptive, and so they would kick me out because that's what they believed was going on. But the truth was they were terrible, absolutely terrible teachers, and I was explaining to the people who didn't understand what they were actually trying to teach in a way that was relatable to the people in the back row. And so when I was in the classroom, everyone in the back row did really well. When I wasn't, they didn't. But I also got very, very overwhelmed by being treated like I was difficult, and by the huge amount of stimulation and the rules that were unspoken about being in that classroom. And so I actually really enjoyed my life in the corridor. It was much quieter. And the internet had not been invented then. And so, the closest they got was, you're probably going to be in humanities, you're probably going to be in HR. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I don't like people. I like persons, but I don't like people. So that's definitely not going to be, and I'm not going to sit in an office, a stuffy office, just no, thank you. I'm going to travel the world, and I'm going to tell stories, and I'm going to chat to people, and I'm going to help them see their lives in the world differently, and I'm going to draw. And that is exactly what I've done with my life. And the main reason for that is the internet. I decided I was going to be location independent in 1996. And so before anyone else was a digital nomad or whatever it is, I was already doing it because I've always been massively ahead of my time. I'm really clear that even if it isn't invented yet, I just need to keep walking, putting one foot in front of the other, and it will materialize. But the world also did a very good job of breaking my spirit around that and making me feel like I was wrong.
Yeah, and I guess that's where the shame piece comes in, right? Because if you're walking a path that nobody else is walking, it's so very easy to throw stones at people that are doing that. And yeah.
Yeah, you know what? It's little tiny things that hurt and that stay with you forever. So these days, everyone's like, Ebonie, is that your real name? That's so cool. Try growing up in the 80s being called Ebonie. You know, one of my first parents' evenings, my teacher said to my dad, your daughter's not very responsive. My dad was like, what? I'm sorry. What do you mean? And it turned out they'd been calling me Emily and wondering why I wasn't responding.
Well,
and that's because it's not my name. My name is Ebonie. Oh, we thought she was making that up. No, it's my actual name. So those kind of things. And, you know, my parents were into yoga and philosophy and spirituality and veganism and not eating sugar and moving your body in daylight and getting outside and like all of these things that are very cool and trendy now. They really, really weren't in 1980.
Yeah. I get, you know, growing up in a spiritual environment, like that's what I want for my kids right now. You know, that's what I'm trying to like integrate, that kind of aspect of ourselves, and, you know, being out in daylight, meditation, all of those things, but also tempering it with what's going on out there with screens and all the things, and trying to like walk the balance or walk the line of enjoying both. And I can't imagine what it was like for you with a family who was already alternative, quirky, all of the words that, you know, that are now being bandied around like in association with things like autism and ADHD and perimenopause and Generation X. So, and like I always talk, we talk about words being spells, but there are these kind of, sometimes I think society needs the labels to understand something they don't understand, or they fear. If you're different, they give it a label and it puts it back in that box, and you're like, yeah, I can cope with that now, it's in that box over there. But I think what the work that I've witnessed you do and been a part of is, you know, you just blow that box open, because everybody's different, with the human design piece, with, you know, as you were saying, around the autism and ADHD diagnosis that you have, but you don't subscribe to. I would love to talk a bit more about that. I
got my qualification age 42, and for me it was literally that. It was somebody saying, you're not qualified to talk about this because you're not. And I was like, okay, well, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute, I'm going to go and get me one of them. And so I did go and get a diagnosis, and actually it was a very, I failed at that the first time. The first ADHD assessment I had, I actually hung up on the guy. It was online, it was during the pandemic. It was in, I hung up on him because he said, just like everybody at school, I don't think you are ADHD. You're just highly intelligent and maybe a bit bipolar. And there is nothing, and I really want to qualify, there's nothing wrong with being bipolar, whether it's a bit or not. The way that he behaved was incredibly unprofessional, and he did what a lot of academic men have done to me in my life, which is to flirt and charm. That session took an hour and a half when it was supposed to take 40 minutes. He asked incredibly invasive personal questions about drug taking, about abuse, about sex, and then was like, you know, if we run over, it's okay. But then to get to the end and say, actually, you're not, was so affronting and damaging to me that I hung up on him. And then the organisation, who I've actually made amends with and who I think are great and very reputable, but the owner messaged me straight away and was like, is there anything we can do? What can we do differently? I'm so sorry this happened. And I said, you need to give me a minute, because that was horrific. And I will come back to you with what I need when I have processed and when I know what that is. And if I wasn't me, if I hadn't done the work that I've done, if I didn't have the tools that I have and the years of experience working through things like this, that could have gone very, very differently. And actually I came back to him and said, I need somebody who can identify and work with a high-functioning female, intelligent, creative, probably ADHD and autistic woman. And he said, I'm going to be honest with you, the only person who's probably qualified to do that in my company is me, and my wait list is very long, but if you're willing to wait, I will do that for you, and I'll do it for free by way of apology.
Wow.
And he did, and he diagnosed me within about 3 minutes. And, so the outcome was good, and that tends to be the story of my life, right? Things are very difficult at first.
Yeah.
And if I stick with it, I'm seen and recognised and understood, but I did spend an awful lot of my life feeling ashamed for being difficult, for being wrong, for not fitting in a box, for not seeing the world like everybody else. And actually I was speaking to somebody yesterday about this. The very thing that I felt shame for and hid for years, which was, I am different.
Yeah.
And not just different within society, but actually within my own family, within my school groups, within, there is no one like me. Made me feel ashamed for years. And now it's like, well, that's what makes me valuable.
Well, that's what makes
there is
you,
no
right? There's no one else like you.
No, and there's no one else like anyone.
Yeah.
But I really see the world. And I have a very unique perspective and way of seeing things. And I synthesize information, vast amounts of information, very, very quickly and in a way that nobody else believes is possible sometimes. And the payoff for that is that I don't see what's right in front of my face. So the really simple stuff, people think I'm being difficult or stupid or trying to cause a scene because I just don't see the really obvious things that are right in front of me.
Yeah. Yeah, I just got to sit with that because it's, but that when you see the world in such a vast way, trying to bring it back to the fact that you went to the supermarket and you forgot the milk, and then you berate yourself all the way home because you forgot the flipping thing that you went for in the first place. And then that's the small thing that brings the shame. I'm talking about my own personal experience here, but I always feel shame when I make tiny little fuck ups like that, which other people would just go, oh, well, you forgot the milk, we'll just go and get it another time. It's like, no, but I forgot the milk. I went there for the milk, I bought everything else and I forgot the fucking milk.
So for me, that stuff I don't get upset by and I don't feel shame for. And for a long time, in my earlier business, I spent a lot of time helping people unpick the difference between guilt and shame.
Amazing.
And I feel a lot more guilt than I do shame in my life. And that comes from having capacity and not doing what people want or expect, right?
Right.
And so the difference between guilt and shame is shame we feel for, and I'm sure you've covered this before, but shame we feel for who we are or are not. Who we think we should or shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And it's inherent and it's around our identity. And guilt we feel for what we believe that we should or shouldn't do. And as a 5'2" in human design, I am hugely capable, and a manifesting generator, hugely capable, right? So again, it's I have spent most of my life finding that I'm accepted and people enjoy having me around when I do things for them or when I make their lives easier or if I act as the saviour, right? And the 5'2" has this kind of saviour piece because it can save the day. But so much of my deconditioning has been about do I actually want to? And also not in a transactional way, but in a, are you going to pay me? Is there an energetic exchange? Do I get something for this? Am I just saving everybody and losing or betraying or abandoning myself? And that's been the biggest part of my story, really, has been not around shame for who I am, but really this piece that people say to me all the time, oh, you're so unapologetic. You're so unapologetically you. You know, my brand, and we're talking about this more, but I'm like, I'm full of myself. Oh, you're so full of yourself. That has been hurled at me so many times. You're so full of yourself. And the truth is, if you knew how apologetic and unfull of myself I actually am, it would astound you.
Yeah. Yeah, I can, well, I can imagine, because, you know, we work in the online space. It's all very easy for us to project a version of ourselves into the online space, for people to take away what they think they see. Like, that's the 5 energy, right? I'm a 5 energy, and when you were talking about the savior energy and the saving the day piece, yeah, it's great until it's not.
As are people's projections until they're not, right? Like, the biggest piece of deconditioning, or the biggest initiation for any 5 line is not caring what people think of you, because they will praise you and then, you know, they'll put you on a pedestal and then they'll remove it just as quick, and there's no rhyme or reason for it, because it's all a projection, because they're not seeing you. And really, that journey, and why I love these modalities so much, is that we get to see and experience the truth of who we are.
Yeah. So let's just take a few steps back for those people that haven't or don't understand what human design is. So, like, there's lots of different modalities out there to kind of figure out who you truly are. And I mean, believe me, I've dived into quite a lot. Astrology, Myers-Briggs, and then I stumbled on this human design thing, which is, I guess, kind of amalgamation of the two. Like, you know, you're trained in it, you know how to explain it. So what is human design, and why is it the key to knowing who we are?
Human design is the science of the aura.
Yeah.
It's the science of differentiation, and it is a synthesis of 5 other languages or modalities. And so it brings together astrology, the oldest book known to man, or the oldest wisdom known to man, the I Ching, the chakra system, quantum mechanics, and the Kabbalah tree of life. And the way that human design works, unlike things like Myers-Briggs, for example, which is highly subjective and only really works if you have any self-awareness, or again is very much to do with personality, which can be accurate or not, can be seen or unseen.
Yeah.
Human design is based on your time of birth, your time, date and place. And why that's relevant is that we were energy, we were source, we were collective consciousness until the very moment that we incarnated and became matter. And in the moment that we became physical matter, we are imprinted with the codes of the planets, as above, so below. And so our astrological chart, our numerology, our gene keys, our human design, all of these things come from the same data, which is the coded information about what is going on in your cells based on where everything was, the earth and the sky, at the moment of your birth.
Boom.
So what they give is an accurate map of you, and that map changes at any given point in time.
Yeah. And I guess the thing that we were talking about is it's based on your date of birth, when you arrive, and then effectively you become a number and a either manifesting generator, projector. Like, there's different types of energy, or aura energy, isn't there? That
there is, and that's to do with exactly what was defined at the moment of your birth. So these gates, which come from the I Ching, which are also known as the gene keys, are inside centers, which are the chakras. And if you have one at one end and one at the other end of a channel, which comes from the Kabbalah tree of life, lit up, then that defines a center. And if certain centers are lit up, that will make you a particular type. And so in classic human design, there are 4 types. I refer to 5 because you can there are 2 types of generator. You've got a manifesting generator and a sacral generator. And for me, my use of human design starts and ends really with the mechanics of how that aura and how your energy is designed to operate with the world and with each other. And then I go deeper into, okay, so what's the next bit? What are the specific codes of your potential that will either be in shadow, which is the seed, or in gift, or in siddhi, which is the highest potential, and they will shift between that, and that is coded from the I Ching, or the Gene Keys, or in my Kismet codes.
Yeah.
And that is the information that really allows you to shift your fate into your destiny, which is why they're called the Kismet codes, because Kismet is an old Hebrew, sometimes Turkish, sometimes Arabic word that means your lot.
Yeah.
And so essentially we were given a particular lot in life. What we do with that is up to us.
Yeah.
And so that is why I love this modality and all of the different languages that I speak, which are all the same thing. They just speak to a slightly different angle or perspective and allow you to really understand who you are and take ownership of that and become the authority in your life. And from that place, you can really move with inner leadership, self-mastery. And then there is no shame because you fall in love with your life and with everybody else's as well. Like everything becomes fascinating.
Yeah. I mean, I walked away from one of your sessions with my little deck and I remember sitting there going, the bits that were highlighted around the shadow were the bits that I always felt ashamed, would have edited or locked away in a cupboard. But actually what I realised, and you know, anyone who's walking a spiritual path will have probably got the memo that that's where the gold is. And when you're actually happy with your warts and all, as I call them, then nothing can stop you from doing what you need to do. But what I found is as we walk on the spiral of life, you know, these things crop up from time to time to remind us.
Sure. And I think one of the main things is like having that perspective shift, right? Being able to see it differently is what stops it from being stagnant, allows us to find momentum and movement again when we are otherwise like just really stuck in this density or this heaviness. And so one of the things that I really stand for is becoming secure in your insecurities.
Yeah.
And those shadows, which we might be ashamed of or that we see of as our insecurities, they are the seeds of potential for the gifts that come with them, and then their highest potential. So it's like, well, even if I am that, then I love and accept myself because I know what I am and I know what I'm not, and that there is no good or bad about that. That just is.
Yeah. Well, we spend our whole lives trying to find the answer, don't we? I think, and making mistakes and
that's the whole point. Like that is the point, is to live it, right? So I started today telling you a little bit about my school life and
do tell me.
I think it would be fair to say that I was a distraction. Now, my incarnation cross is the left angle cross of distraction, and my sun is in gate 56, which is the wandering storyteller. So is it any surprise that what I did was wander around and tell stories and like distract my class or be seen as a distraction? Now, the gift of that is enrichment. I wasn't distracting them. I was enriching their realities. I was enriching their lives. I was helping them to take in the nourishment of what they were being taught.
Yeah.
And that perspective shift took my self-concept from I am a distraction and I'm difficult and I'm a disruptor to I enrich the lives of those around me. And that is what makes the real difference. And that's why the work that I do in the world is important. And that's not to take away from what anyone else does, but that recognition for me of like, oh, that's the point.
That's what I do.
Yeah, like that's what I do. Like, imagine that. Imagine being like, it's so simple, right? So simple. I just help you know why you're here, what you're amazing at, like what the truth of who you are is, right?
Yeah, and I think there's so many of us out there that are still searching for that. And, you know, you do... I mean, you can't help everyone, can you? You know, it's like you need to be kind of at a point in your life where you're ready to receive the wisdom that you're sharing.
Never has a truer thing been spoken. So a lot of people tell me that I share the brutal truth, that I'm brutally honest. And nothing offends me more. I'm like, that's your judgment of the truth, right? Like, I'm just honest. If you find honesty brutal, you're probably not ready to hang out with me.
Warning, if you don't want to know the truth. Just
exactly that. And like, people spend thousands on not knowing the truth, right? They do not want to know. And what's really fantastic about this is that my purpose, so your unconscious earth, anyone who has a chart from me, or your unconscious earth is your purpose sphere, your purpose gate. And that for me is in gate 28. And that's about purpose or purposelessness. And what it's really about is how we avoid and what we avoid. And it's this avoidance. And I love where Richard Rudd calls it an avoid dance, right? Like we're kind of dancing in this, like, I will avoid the truth. And really it's because we are terrified of dying as human beings. And then we're terrified of living in our fullness, as our full selves. And so we spend most of our time avoiding the truth of who we are.
Yeah, it's the conditioning of you must be small, put in a box, and yeah. I mean...
And so, yeah, that piece of, like, if you want to escape that, if you want to be confident, if you want to have clear, if you want to be creative, if you want to express yourself, if you want to feel satisfied and fulfilled, the price you pay is the initiation of, can you hold your own gaze?
Yeah.
And what's, again, even more brilliant about that, my first book I wrote a very long time ago. I published it in 2014, Misfit to Maven. And in it I talk about how right at the beginning of my journey I could not hold my own gaze in a mirror, in a window. I couldn't look at myself. I couldn't look at myself in the eye for more than a couple of seconds without being physically sick. I was so ashamed of who I was and what I looked like. And that was the avoidance, right? Like, it was all on image. It was all on what I looked like. Yeah. I made that the scapegoat for everything because it was so much easier than the truth of, like, I don't know who I am. I haven't accepted who I am. I'm ashamed of how different my operating system is and how I am in the world. And so I actually started with mirror work. I started with, can I look at myself? Can I hold my own gaze? And the beauty of the fact being that's what I do with people now, right? I show them the beauty of who they are.
Love that. You need an Ebonie in your life, put it that way. Or her deck, if you can't have her, because you're hiding in a corridor for 5 minutes.
Well, no, the beauty is that over, I don't know, like I said, I've been self-employed for 29 years, I've been doing this for 12, and I have put it all inside offerings and online and in books and in art, and like I've channeled it all, and not just channeled, but like created and I'm at this beautiful point in my life which feels quite pivotal, where I'm looking to retire and I'm looking to kind of move away from being available.
Yeah.
And yet that doesn't mean I'm going anywhere, because the legacy gets to live on through all of the things that I've made and created.
I love that. It's so interesting, like you say, like the shift and being able to leave a legacy of shamelessness and living a shameless life. And, you know, that's obviously what the podcast is all about. But is there any other kind of words of wisdom? I mean, you've shared so much already, but is there anything you'd like to share with our listeners before we wrap up?
You know what? The number one thing people come to me and say that they say that they want to be unapologetic.
Right.
And so my question is, what are you apologising for?
Yeah.
And nearly all of you in your own heads went, existing.
Damn it, Ebonie, get out my head.
Yeah, you've got to stop apologising for existing. That's the only way to be unapologetic. It's to just be. It's not about what you do, it's about who you be.
Love that. So powerful. Thank you for coming on and sharing your shameless story. It's just always a pleasure to be in your energy, and anybody who would like to connect with Ebonie, all of the links will be in the show notes. Just thank you for coming on and sharing your story with me, and please do tune in for another episode of Shameless Stories. Thank you, Ebonie.
Thank you.